Sorry about that. Welcome along, everybody. My mic was on the wrong place. Welcome then to Las Vegas for Silver Season 8 Round 22. 2 rounds to go after this one. Then looking forward to seeing how Las Vegas is dealt with, let's just put it that way, by the Silver Stallions. And we'll see in just a minute then. Welcome along then to the stream. Welcome along then to the qualifying in 10 seconds time. Just loading in now. Unfortunately, one driver missing. Then hopefully they'll jump in for the qualifying in a few moments then. But we are going to get cracking here at 7:30 then on the Monday night then for Silver. Then a lovely Monday indeed. And looking forward to then seeing how Vegas is going to fare here tonight, as Gamer has woken up and joined. And good timing indeed, as he can just about get himself in the car for qualifying, for the full qualifying that is. 18-minute shootout then to set the grid then for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. As Sean said last night in gold, only the second time we have raced around here. For Silver, that is. and looking forward to seeing how it's going to fare again, as we had a bit of a, well, it was typically Vegas-like last night in gold, and once again, I'm sure we'll have typically Vegas-like once again here in silver, so we'll stay tuned to that one, but first of all, we've got to set the grid, so we will jump into the session now and hopefully get ourselves all loaded and ready to go. We are almost there. Good stuff indeed. Then welcome along then to the stream. Then Dan Murphy said good luck all, then that's a familiar name then from silver seasons past. I can't remember which season it was then last. For Dan Murphy must have been season 8 or no, we're in season 8. Season 6 or season 5 maybe, I'm not quite sure. Goodness me, long time ago then, nonetheless. But we are ready, hopefully, now to get started then for Silver Season 8 this time here in Vegas. The second time, like I said, then for Vegas in the Silver calendar then. And we've got 20 drivers then lined up on the grid then. Gamer has woken up then just in time to join us then for qualifying as we get ourselves underway then here in Vegas. And a lovely casino trip then following after this race. Looking forward to seeing how that's going to be, especially in terms of the after the race end. If there's tempers flaring, then going to the casino is probably not a good idea, is it then? As of course, gambling then when you're red hot in the face is probably not a good idea, but nonetheless, I've never done that myself, and I have never won big in a casino. Let's just put it that way. I have only given them my money, but that is pretty much the aim of the casino, isn't it? Anyway, so that's enough of that. But there we go. In the championship, then we've got we've already rounded up the drivers' title. Then we've rounded up P2 in the drivers' title or drivers' standings as well. Then with Mumford claiming that P2. Then the last week out, then in Brazil. I've forgotten where we were then, but yes, he has claimed that position then P2 for the drivers standings then in the championship, and that is for season 8 for Mumford. Then of course Ultimate Beast was crowned champion then in the US of A a few rounds ago. Then we're back in the US of A now, and of course he is just going to be casually just driving around then enjoying the sights and the scenes of the strip, and maybe then doing a bit more on the strip as well. Then we never know. We'll have to wait and see what he wants to do then on the strip as well then, but so far so good then. A few drivers then out on track already then, quite a busy track then at the start of this session. Lewis Riley then the first man out on circuit in the Red Bull, and he is going to go through the final chicane then to start off a flying lap, well the first flying lap then of the session, with 16 minutes left of qualifying to go as we get ourselves cracking then. Nope, he's coming back into the pit lane, so that's about it. That's abandoning that time quickly indeed. No qualifying attempts then for Lewis Riley. Then he's into the pits, and that was a very quick outlap as well for Lewis Riley then. Good stuff. MHD is the next car on track. He's in the other Red Bull. Then he's reserving tonight in place of Riyadh. He's on intermediate compound tyres, and he is coming back into the pits as well then. So both Red Bulls are abandoning their laps as well then. So he's on intermediate compound tyres anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Good stuff indeed. And Justify's finally started the first flying lap of the session. Good stuff from Justify then to get us underway. Going through turns 1 and 2 then in the Racing Ball. Then he is reserving for Vanquish tonight then, as we get ourselves back, or firstly underway I should say, then for the first flying laps of the session. There's McLaren right behind us as well then. I believe that might be SG Tory as well then, who's reserving in place of Kydell, and we go through then into sector 2 then. Oh, that McLaren is getting very close indeed then as well. Then Justify is entitled to stay on his lap then, because of course he is on a flying lap then through the sphere section as well, then heading into the underpass or the overpass section as well, and that's where the bridge is then on our right hand side, as we for the drivers that is, on our left hand side then, looking at the screen then, coming through the hotel complex now then, and into turn 11 then. This is where you need to get your braking point spot on indeed, and then get yourself powered down that back straight I should say then, really, because it's the strip. This is the Las Vegas strip then, the actual one indeed, the very one indeed where all the casinos and all of the other things are available, should you wish, but I think they're still open actually on race weekends and that sort of thing, so they don't lose any money I don't think, especially with the tourists that come into the town. And there we go then, Justify then heading down that strip then into the final chicane then to finish off the last proper couple of corners I should say then, because the last turn technically is just flat out still to the line. Then let's see what Justify can do then here in the Racing Ball to set ourselves the first time of qualifying here in Vegas. Up to the line then for the Racing Ball, it's a 32.8 then for Justify. justify then sending ourselves underway here in this session as well. Then Nameless starting off a lap, then heading into the first couple of turns. Then Vesh is on a 31.5, then puts himself P1 then in the Ferrari as it stands. Ola says Gordon, then good luck all, says the Aston Martin driver, then looking to get himself a good lap on the board. Then both the Ferraris and currently on a front row lock up with a 31.7, but Kamara races on a 31.2 in the Williams then to put himself onto pole position provisionally, that is, as Kiki then as a 31.3 then for him, puts himself P2, then locking out the front row onto the front row. Goodness me, he's gone a bit wayward there, let's just put it that way, as we go through the or finish off his in-lap. That will start off his in-lap, I should say then, but goodness me. Reflection, a 31.9 for the other Williams driver, then P5 for him. Ashford driver, 31.9 in P6 then. Sweet Andrew P, a 33.1 for the Alpine. I think he can do a bit better than that then. Maybe he was just looking to set his sights then in this qualifying then, or had some sort of issue then on that lap as well. Then we'll wait and see who is next to cross the line then. We have got, that's Nameless then onto the strip then. We've got a McLaren then of Mr. Elite, who's had a bit of a problem then. He's lost a right end plate then in the McLaren, unfortunately, having to come back to the pit lane and abandon that time. Lewis Riley then starting off a lap, then Mumford then heading into the final chicane. Then where is Tory? Tory's heading down the strip, so we'll go to Nameless. Then where is Nameless then heading through into the, no he's not, he's already in the strip. Then where is he? My goodness me, then we're all over the place, aren't we? Then goodness me, there we are. Then there's Mumford, here is Mumford, then P2 has been confirmed for Mumford then in the championship. Then here comes Mumford at 31.3 for the Alpine, puts himself P3 as it stands as well. Then good stuff from the Mumford, from the Alpine driver. Nameless has done a 31.9, then puts himself right behind his teammate then by only a 7,000th of a second as well then for the Kick Saubers. P jump down, or moving down to P10 then with that time as well. Then Lewis Riley then heading down the strip as well. Where is Gordo? Then Gordo is going through sector 2 now, so we'll go back to Lewis Riley, who is flying through here. Then let's see what he can do then on this on his next attempt. Then of course the first attempt then was just a sighter. He didn't want to set himself a time even in that first lap as well. Then so he just set himself a bit, well, getting himself warmed up to the track a bit, a acclimatization, I should say, as they would say in the practice programs, that is. But of course there's no practice programs then for Silver then, unless they want to do that beforehand. They have to do the practice, then qualifying, and then the qualifying in the same session. My God, is that Daniel Murphy? Then here comes Lewis Riley, then up to P6 then for the Williams, for the Red Bull, 31.7, then puts himself onto the third row of the grid then, and Ginger Ray just said, oh my God, is that Daniel Murphy? And I think it is, because that's what it says then in the comment section as well then, if I can read correctly then, but then I never did do very well at English, so as you can tell, I can barely speak, so there we are. MHD then heading across the line, MHD at 30.7, then that's half a second almost to Kamara Racer's time, then that is brilliant stuff indeed from MHD in the Red Bull tonight, then currently on pole position then with a very good time, indeed the first man into the 30 point somethings, and ahead then of Kamara Racer by it is over just a half a second, then a 504,000th of a second, I think that is, if my maths is correct then. But once again, I didn't do very well in maths either, so there we go. Heading through the final chicane, there's R2 then looking to improve on P6 then as it stands then for the Ferrari. Both Ferraris looking pretty strong in this qualifying in the first outings. We'll see what it is then. Good day, Dan, says Smithy then. Hello, Alex. Hi, Alex, says Indigo. R2 has improved by 8,000 of a second, and it stays P6 for the time being. Then Lewis Riley coming back into the pit lane after completing his first flying lap as well. Then Gordo has done a 32.1. Then oh dear, he's had a bit of a problem. Then going through the chicane then in the sphere section. Then so he's abandoned that time and coming back to the pit lane, I imagine. And let's see what we can do then. Jay Hings has improved to P5. Then Jay Hings onto the third row of the grid. Then up into P5 for the Aston Martin, and looking very strong indeed then is Jay Hings, and had a very good season as well then, has Jay Hings been promoted from bronze last season as well. Is R2 back out on another lap? No, he's not, I don't think. Gordo then has, of course, invalidated going through that section, so I think I have to try and go again then for the Aston Martin, looking to get himself up in the higher echelons then alongside his teammate then. MHD back into the pit lane after completing his first flying lap indeed, and that was definitely a flying lap from MHD as he gets himself back into the box then. Jay Hings then cruising around then to finish off the in lap, so is R2 as well then, unless R2's got, no, he's not got enough fuel, I don't think, to go again for the Ferrari then, so unfortunately he's going to have to come back to the pit lane as well then. Gordo going very, very slowly down to the down the strip then, and he's got himself to the final chicane then. I think it's about to start off another lap then for Gordo, so we'll come back to that and then we'll stay tuned as Mr. Elite has started off a lap as well, and so has his teammate Tory once again. Then Tory is right behind another driver then going through the sphere section as well, and then both McLarens flying through the same part of the circuit as it stands with 9 minutes left of the session here. Oh dear, Mr. Elite then drifting out of sector 2 almost, and keeping it straightened up quickly enough then for the hotel complex section, then heading into the turn 11 then, which is where you need to get your breaking point right then for Mr. Elite. And he has done as well then, making sure you avoid that wall on the exit. Tory very close indeed then. He might get a nice tow from his teammate then, both of them on flying laps here, but Tory then might be just about within range then of a slipstream here down the Vegas strip as well, then heading on board then with the second McLaren in this row. But we can see the ERS light flashing then for Mr. Elite, then potentially giving his teammate a tow down this straight as well then. Heading into the final chicane now. Both drivers then getting themselves through very well indeed then, but Tory is getting a fantastic tow here from his teammate, Mr. Elite. I'm not sure if it's been coordinated by the McLaren drivers, but they've done a fantastic job of making it sure it is absolutely spot on then. Heading up to the line then, Mr. Elite P12, but Tory then P2 with a 31.258 then. Good stuff indeed onto the front row of the grid then. Mr. Elite then P13 with a 32.1 then. So that just shows how much of a tow that he gave his teammate there. That was absolutely fantastic then from Mr. Elite then. Good teamwork indeed then. I'm not sure it was coordinated or not, but nonetheless then they have done a good job then. Game has done a 32.0 then puts himself P13. Mr. Elite then P14 now then. Gorda coming through the final chicane then to finish off his second attempt here in qualifying. Let's see what it's going to be then from Gorda then heading up to the line then on the in the Aston Martin, I should say then. P15 as it stands then. Can he improve then? Can he get himself in the top 10 then? Here he comes. It's P9 for Gorda then. The 31.7 then puts himself just behind the two Ferraris but ahead of Lewis Riley then by 3 thousandths of a second then as well. I'm supporting Lewis Riley, says Indigo then. I support them all, says Smithy, but not Farf. There we go then, that's fair. So, good stuff indeed. Kamara Racer, then we've missed it. I was looking in the comment section, but Kamara Racer's then back up into P2 then after setting the pace early on. Then he's back up into the onto the front row, I should say, then with a 31.110, and that is a tenth and a half or so then faster than Tory then. And well, he's still quite a margin away then from MHD then, but Kamara Racer looking very strong indeed then at this stage of the qualifying, and he has looked pretty strong then in the last few races at the end of this season as well. Then only 2 to go then after this one, Qatar and Abu Dhabi then after Vegas then to round off season 8 of Silver then, and to round off all the divisions as well then for 2024 then. We'll be done then in 2024 heading into 2025. Goodness me, I'm getting old. And well, there we are. That's all I have to say about that then. Who is next across the line is the question then. It's not Gamer then. I think Gamer might be starting off another lap then, or coming into the pit lane now. Nameless then looks to be finishing off a lap then, heading down the strip and into the final couple of corners now as well then for Nameless. And can he improve on P14 as it stands then in the Kick Sauber? Now flying down towards the final turn, which isn't a turn really because it is flat out then heading through the final corner now. The DRS or ERS sorry has been deployed up to P4 for Nameless then. A 280 sorry, has put himself onto the second row of the grid then for the Kick Sauber then. Very good stuff indeed. Where is the Racing Bull? There's a Racing Bull somewhere then. It's Justify coming back in the pit lane then. There's a Red Bull as well then. Oh dear me, it's Lewis Riley then coming into the pits as well. And we've got another Kick Sauber then. Astra John then heading through the final couple of corners then to finish off his second attempt in qualifying here as well. Then can he improve on a 31.9? Then can he get himself into the top 10? Can he improve on his position at all? We will find out now, and it is unfortunately half a second slower than for Astrodron. Then has to go back round again then, but hopefully can improve on his next outing. There's still time for the Kick Sauber driver then to get, oh dear, to get himself back in the pit then, I should say, and go again then on another attempt then for Astrodron. Then it's not all done and dusted just yet then for the Kick Saubers. Then Gordo back into the pit lane, I think, then abandoning his time. Then Beast is on a 31.5 then, of course, the champion then was crowned in the US of A then 3 rounds ago now, or was it 4? Maybe 3 rounds before this round, let's just say. But Beast then coming back into the pit lane then 5 minutes left of the session. And Jay Hings is starting. No, he's not, is he? I'm not sure if he is starting or if he's slowing, but he's P7 nonetheless. Then Kiki then up into P5 and looking good for Mercedes and 31.288 then for Mercedes. He is 8 thousandths away there from Nameless then in P4. Then could gain himself a position then if he just gained that extra half a tenth of a second or whatever it is, mathematics and stuff. I think I'm not quite sure if Jay Hings. I don't think Jay Hings is on a lap actually. Then Astrodron then coming back to the pit lane. Will he have enough time to get himself back in the box then and back underway? Then he might just about squeeze through if he can get himself out of the box then in time. 300p then unfortunately a 33.1 then is his best time so far. Then I'm looking to improve. Then of course we've seen some much better qualifying then from 300p than in previous rounds. So we'll see what he can do then in the latter stages of qualifying here. Then Farf and Irvine then have forgotten their car keys at the moment then, so they're stuck in the pits. Then Kiki is I don't think he's on a lap then, but I think he's just trying to get himself back to the pit lane as quickly as possible here. There we go. And then how's Fav's driving? Says Ginger. I thought he broke his TV. Well, if you saw his kid was playing F1 24 the other day or earlier this evening, so he may be doing a bit of a job then for Fav instead. Then getting some practice in. Then so when he joins ALR, then he's going to be better than Fav. So that's going to be good. Jay Hings, and I think just about to start off another lap here. And I think this might be his final attempt in qualifying as well. Then we'll stay on board with Jay Hings then as we go through the final corner then to start off the final outing then for the Aston Martin driver then in this qualifying session. Looking to improve on P7 as we head into turn 1 now. Then hot lap still engaged as we go through into turn 2 and now turn 3 as well. Then flying through this corner, making sure you get the exit right because it can compromise you then with that wall getting so close then on the exit as well. Then heading now down this first of the DRS straights then in towards turn 4 and now sector 2 begins then as well then as we head through into this part of the circuit as well then. And this is the technical part of the circuit where it goes a bit slower. But so far, it's been pretty good then. As we go through into Sector 2, then past the sphere, I can't say the word to be fair. And now out of the technical part then, and into the hotel complex, or the overpass complex, and then into the hotel complex, and flying in towards turn 11, then onto the strip itself then, which of course has been closed then to the tourists for this event, whilst we get ourselves some racing cars going past it, or down it. 2.7 seconds, or 2.7 tenths of a second, I should say. Goodness me, improvement then from Jay Hings would put himself up a place or 2, maybe 3, then maybe 4, maybe 5. Fav has retired in the pit lane. He has done and dusted in qualifying. Unfortunately, no time for Fav. But here comes Jay Hings then looking to improve then, and he's improving pretty much very well indeed through sector 1 and 2. Then can he hold it all together then through sector 3 and going through that final chicane? Then could have gained or could have lost a few tenths of a second. Then we never know, as we can't tell exactly unless they clout the wall. Then that's pretty obvious. But there we go, then up to the line for Jay Hings, then up to the line for Jay Hings. It's P4 then onto the second row of the grid then, a 31.266 for the Aston Martin, then puts himself P4. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Jay Hings looking on form here tonight. Brilliant stuff to see. Reflection is I think on a lap as well, is he? I'm not quite sure. He's used up a lot of ERS then down to the Vegas strip then. DRS then available then for the Williams driver, then looking to improve on P13 as it stands then heading into the final chicane now. And so far so he's got like 5 TVs, says Smithy. I think he's talking about 5. Oh dear, reflection then clouting the wall on the exit then of the final chicane. Then that's going to slow him down a little bit, I'd imagine. Where is he going? He's into the pits, then he's banned on his time, unfortunately, for reflection. That is him done and dusted in qualifying here. Sweet Andrew Pierce back out on circuit, then Justify heading down the strip. Then where will we see who is next across the line is the question. Then Jay Hings coming back to the pits, then Kiki and Nameless starting off a lap as well. Then we've got Mumford then going through sector 1 into sector 2. Then Vessia then going through the first couple of corners. Then so is Beast, then so is R2 Beat heading through here. Gordo then has invalidated his outlap then, but he's starting off a lap now, just in time then for Gordo as well. Then good stuff indeed. Then here comes Justify, then the racing ball, then next across the line. Then here he comes up to the... Oh, it's P17. He stays P17, but he has improved on his previous time then, so that's good stuff indeed then. The Haas of... No, it's not Gamer then, it's Irvine. Irvine starting off a lap now, heading into turn 1. And both the McLarens then are starting off their laps as well then. This time, Mr. Elite, I think, is behind Tory then. So maybe Tory trying to return the favour then from the previous outing then in qualifying, as Justified is getting out of the way then of the McLaren speeding down the first DRS straight then heading in towards sector 2. And Mr. Elite, I think, is in a prime position then to get himself some very nice tow then from his teammate. Astrodron is done in qualifying, then here's P15, then Reflection P14 at best, then R2 Beat is done and dusted as well, then he is P11. He has improved by 78,000 of a second then, but not enough at this stage of the qualifying then. We've got an Alpine, it's an Alpine of Mumford, then Mumford up into P3 then with a 31.123, and 123 then he is up into P3 then. Good stuff indeed. That is brilliant commentary. I thought Kiki was ghosting then, but maybe he's had some sort of issue then somewhere through sector 2. Then here comes Beast, then the champion, up to the line then for Beast. Then what's it going to be from Beast? It's a 30.8, then puts himself P2. Mumford down to P4, then Vessia up into P5. Brilliant stuff stuff indeed. Nameless has done a 30.7. Fantastic stuff indeed from the kicks out. But then what's MHD got then? MHD's at a 30.5, sorry. He's put himself back on pole position ahead of Nameless. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then great stuff indeed from the two of them. And here comes the two McLarens as well. They're heading into the final chicane, then making sure they get this point right then as well. Heading up to the final line, then final time for qualifying then for the McLarens. And Mr. Elite then is going to be fantastically happy as we've got migrating host as well then. So Smithy has left the session then. Fantastic stuff indeed. Both McLarens then abandoning their times and not quite sure why, but Mr. Elite then down to P18, then here comes Kiki up into P8, then a 31.2 for him. And Tori has left the session as well then. Sweet 100p then is P14, but unfortunately is not improving for sure then on this time. He is going very slowly down that strip. And there we go then. We're heading into the race itself then. The grid has been set, I should say. And that is that then for this qualifying. Then we'll be going straight into the 25 laps of action then here in Vegas. And looking forward to seeing then looking forward to seeing how this is going to unfold then here in this race itself as well then. And there we go then as well for Sweet 100p to get himself back into the pit lane. Then unfortunately we are waiting for Sweet 100p then to get himself into the box then. Unfortunately for the Alpine then not able to improve enough then on that final attempt. Then he has retired from the session. That is qualifying done and dusted then as we finish off here in Vegas for the 18 minutes of qualifying shootout to set the grid now for the 25 laps of racing. But there we are. Then we'll run through the classification. Then we'll have a quick word from my lovely sponsors, and we'll get yourself back underway for the formation lap then in just a jiffy. And firstly, hopefully we see that. No, we're not going to see it. I thought we were going to see the classification, but we're not going to see it. Okay, so there we go then. All right, then bear with us 1 second whilst we get ourselves sorted with the formation lap then, and we will get ourselves underway then for the race itself in just a jiffy. Right, we are back then. We are ready then, almost, for the beginning of the race. We're just waiting for the drivers then to set their strategies, then set their setups, set their fuel levels, set whatever they want to set. Have a cup of tea and a baguette, or we're in Vegas. What we're going to have in Vegas? No, I don't know. We're just going to have some peanuts by the casino bar or something like that. And get ourselves racing then. So bear with us 1 second whilst we get the formation lap underway, and fingers crossed we'll be getting cracking then in just a moment or so then. There we are then. We are getting ourselves underway now. We need to get that off. We need to switch the tyres on and see what's going on here in strategy land then as we head into the formation lap then to start us off, then set the grid then for the 25 laps of action then here to unfold tonight then in Vegas. And looking forward to seeing how it's going to unfold as well then. In the back of the order, we've got both the Racing Bulls, unfortunately, then Farf and Justify then have switched the strategy down at Racing Bull. Then Farf is on the hard compound tyres from the back of the grid. Maybe letting his son take part in this race. Justify then in P19 medium compound tyres, so different strategies then for the Racing Bull drivers. Then Mr. Elite then on the medium compound tyres in P18, then as is Astra John then in the Kick Sauber in P17. Reflection also opting for the medium compound tyres, P16 for the Williams driver. Good stuff indeed. P15 for R2B, then hard compound tyres on the Ferrari, then looking for a longer first stint compared to those on the medium compound tyres, that is. Sweet 100p, then P14, then mediums for the Alpine driver, then looking to get himself a few places in the opening stage of this race as well. Then Lewis Riley, then P13. Oh dear, I thought it was people carrying the order, but it's just them weaving around me. Lewis Riley on the medium compound tyres, then Gamer and Irvine, both the Hasses, then P12 and P11 respectively. Then hard compound tyres for those two, and looking to go long then in the first stint of this Grand Prix as well. Into the top 10, we've got Gordo and Jay Hings, sorry. Both the Aston Martins, that is. Medium compound tyres for Jay Hings then, so they've switched from the strategy just like the Aston. Oh, they've got a problem for a... I think there's a problem then for a McLaren. Then he seems to be ghosted then. But we've got Gorda then, who's I think actually Tory then left the session, didn't he? Then at the end of qualifying, that's why he's ghosted. Hopefully he can get himself back here when the race has restarted. Gorda then P10 on the hard compound tyres. Jay Higgins switching the strategy then, and the other Aston Martin P9 on the medium compound tyres. Kiki hard compound tyres from Mercedes driver, then P8 for him. Tory then not in the car, but unfortunately, but hoping he can get himself back in it when the race has restarted. Medium compound tyres for him, then P7. Vessia P6 in the Ferrari, then on the mediums, as is Mumford in P5 and the Alpine, and Kamara Racer in the Williams, then P4. Ultimate Beast was opting for the medium compound tyres in P3. The champion then was crowned then in the US of A then a few rounds ago now. P3 for him then on the front row of the grid. We've got Nameless on the hard compound tyres for the Kicksauber then, and MHD, our pole sitter here tonight then in the Red Bull. Right then, here we go then, cracking on with the start of the Grand Prix, I think, hopefully, fingers crossed anyway, we will switch to the position changes. 5-row lights are on here in Vegas for Silver Season 8. Then the 5-row lights are out, as I was saying. Here we go then for the Vegas Grand Prix. And Beast has got a good start then, passing the kick then of Nameless then into turn 1. Then he's got the inside for turn 2. Then potentially could take the lead. There with all sorts of action in the background. Then Nameless, I think they've dropped down the field. Then Kiki's got a 10-second penalty then for a collision with Kamara Racer. And both of them have dropped down the field. Nameless has dropped down the field to P16. Goodness me, what's happened there? We didn't really see it. We saw that Nameless was going very slow then off the start. But Beast has taken the lead then. Father's got a 10-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flag then as well. Then goodness me, it is definitely an action-packed start. Action-packed first sector then for Silver here tonight then so far. So we go through into sector 2 then. Hopefully they calm down a bit. But Beast then with a great start then, gaining 2 places. Then MHD's lost out to the lead then. We've got more movers and shakers down the order then. Nameless has dropped down to P15 then from P2. Father's got himself up from 20th to P7, but unfortunately has got a 10-second penalty for we're not hearing to the yellow flags then. Mumford and Mr. Elite have got a 10-second penalty for a severe collision as well down there, and what has happened between the Alpine and McLaren as well, then goodness me, is all pandemonium it seems then for those drivers as well. Then RTV's got himself up into P10, then passing Tory, who's not in the session anymore. Then Lewis Riley up into the top 10, then heading down the strip then for the first time, and oh dear, they need to make sure they keep it clean and keep it tidy as well then, hopefully. Heading into the final chicane now, and RTB up into P8 now. He's got on a charge then, is the Ferrari, then he's gained 7 places. Then Favre of course has that penalty that he'll have to serve in his next pit stop then. Of course I think basically what happened is that he went past those who had their incidents, and as everyone filters through then into the final turn then, and he went past those who had their incidents then, and of course there was a yellow flag fluttering somewhere there, so they had to all go past without causing further incident as well then. And Mumford then is I think he's lost an end plate then, as Mumford then he's going to have to come in the pit lane, and I think Mr. lost an end plate as well then, but he's carrying on then for the McLaren. Not quite sure if that's the best strategy, especially around Vegas as well then, but he is soldiering on as well out there. Of course there could be safety cars, there could be all sorts of action then through this circuit as well then. Of course Gamer's got himself past Tory then into P12, sorry. Of course, he's on the hard compound tyres. So he's putting a charge then on the Alpine of Sweet 100p, then into the Sphere section, and he's got himself through to P11. Then fantastic stuff indeed. Then, and very wisely done indeed from both drivers as well. Then to make sure there wasn't any more contact or any more incidents there. But fair play indeed then to the Alpine of Sweet 100p. Now I think just very wise then letting the Haas go through there, because he knew he had the pace for Gamer. Then that is right then onto the strip once again. Then P2 lap 2 I should say. Then goodness me, we are already flying through this race then at top-neck speed, or breakneck speed I should say. Then here comes Vessia up into the podium places. Both the Aston Martins have gained massively as well then after all that as well. Heading down the straight, it's 3 wide then into the first final chicane. Then it looks like Vessia's going to go for the lead. Is he? No, not quite. He's jumped over the curve. That could open the door for Beast, and they're going to go side by side through here. Then Vessia's taking the position as well. Then MHD's stretching his legs out in front. Then here comes Ultimate Beast on the attack as we go into the final quarter then onto lap 3 now. My God, then that was action-packed indeed. And MHD's now trying to stretch his legs. Then Beast has got himself back into DRS range just about. Then Gamer's at the fastest up the race. Then there's more movers and shakers down the back of the order. Then Kiki passing Justify into turn 1. Then Kiki back up into P14 after losing out on that start as well. Then I'm not quite sure what happened between himself. It was Kamara Racer as well that involved, I think, as well. Then for the Williams driver, and it seems like it was Nameless and Tori. Then Tori's of course not in the car, so that's why Tori is dropping down the order. Then he didn't start the race. He has been in AI since the beginning of the race as well. Then unfortunately for the McLaren driver, hoping he can get himself back in. Then Mr. Elite is carrying on then with wing damage. Mumford has made a pit stop then for a new set of hard compound tyres and is trying to get himself back in this race. Of course, a safety car will bring him back into this race very quickly indeed. But we will have to wait and see. Then usually safety cars are apparent around this circuit. Then Beast trying to get himself back into DRS range then with the leader, then the race leader, then the pole sitter of course of MHD, and it's close indeed. 9/10 of a second. Then can he get that gap back down then as we head into the DRS detection point? Then of course DRS detection is quite far away down this straight then before the activation point as well, but he has done a job then of getting himself into that DRS window now as well. Then good stuff indeed. Then Farf is on a charge then passing Irvine now of course, but Farf like we keep saying has that penalty to serve. Then Irvine no DRS then of course has been passed by both Farf and the Ferrari of R2B up into P7 now for the R2B. Good stuff indeed. And on the charge as well then. Hi Alex says Thunder as well then. Team MHD as well then says Thunder. MHD currently leading the Grand Prix. Matthew Kieran has said, what was Matthew Kieran has said? Sorry, I'm trying to get the race. Look at the race and look at the comments at the same time. He said Justify is in danger and Justify is currently P15. Then he's gained 4 places though, so Justify's doing a good job out there as it stands then as well. Then as a base then coming down the back straight then heading into turn 5 into turn 4. I should say then into sector 2. Farf has been passed by R2B then into that same corner as well then, and now up into P6 then. Can he gain that 2-second gap that he needs? He's clouted the wall then, that could be dangerous, but he's clouted the wall then. Can he gain that 2 seconds that he needs to get himself into contention with the top 5 now, who are stretching away at this point of the race? Then into the sphere section we go. Then the Ferrari now takes the position away from Farf. Then Irvine filtering through, then as is Lewis Riley, then as is Reflection, as is Gamer, as is Kamara Racer, and the Alpine is Swinton and Kiki then trying to catch up as well. Then Justify in tow as well. Then as is Nameless, then as is Astra John. Then 5 seconds back then is the Ghost of Tory, and then 5 seconds further back then is Mr. Elite then, who's struggling on with that front wing damage as well then. So my goodness me, that must feel very horrible indeed for Mr. Elite then, but hopefully he can get himself into the box very soon and get himself a new front wing. Then Mumford then is got himself a new front wing already then at the end of lap 2, and is now onto a set of hard compound tyres and pushing now for the next position as well. Then Farf has got himself past R2B then with the DRS down the strip. Then here comes Irvine as well then heading through, and we've got a Red Bull then. Oh my goodness me, then that's a Red Bull of Lewis Riley then diving down the inside of Irvine then up in 2P. Oh goodness me, what's happened there? I thought there was more contact. We have got contact. It's Reflection. Where's Reflection? He's that's a very good place to go. Then he's gone off the outside then at the chicane somehow, but he has got himself back underway quickly enough. Then unfortunately for Reflection, that is well, it doesn't look like it's cost him any wing damage, but it's cost him positions and some time. Then I'm not quite sure if that was a forced error or an unforced error, let's just put it that way, but hopefully he is okay to carry on then in this next part of the race. And of course, like I said, any safety cars will bring all those drivers who are having a few mishaps then at this early stage back into the race. Then R2B up into P6, then back past Farf, then into sector 2. Farf down to P7, then Lewis Riley now up into P8, then Gamer's got himself past his teammate, then into P9, Irvine then rounding off the top 10 positions as it stands then on lap 5. Brilliant stuff indeed on this lovely Las Vegas evening here in Las Vegas, obviously. But yes, it's been good so far, and fingers crossed then it can carry on. Then Nameless then trying to regain his position. Then from P2 he dropped down the field then after a very, very horrible start then for Nameless, and hopefully he can get that out of the way, then out of his mind, then he can crack on then with this Grand Prix. Then Beast then is trying to get himself back past into the race lead then on MHD, then heading down the strip. Then once again then with some more DRS, then harvesting energy then is Beast as we head into the final chicane. Then that could open the door for Vess here or Gorda then to make a move. Then Gorda's looking to shape for a move as well. Then on the inside, is he going to go for a move on double, a move on the overtake? Then not quite. Then he's up to P3 though, and he's up into the podium places now as well. Then with that move, then passing Vessia. Then Vessia now in a bit of a sandwich. And R2Beat's had an issue then at the chicane. Then he's had a problem. Then his R2Beat is down to P16. Goodness me, it was going so well for R2Beat. Then it's now he's going to have to do all the hard work once again then for the Ferrari driver. Then goodness me, what's happened there? And it looked like he went a bit wide then in the braking zone, then into the chicane. Then Beast has had an issue as well. Then Beast has had a problem then at the second turn. Then he's trying to get himself back on the way. There's all sorts of Haas cars going through. There's a Williams going through as well. My goodness me. What's happened to Beast? And I don't think he was close enough to MHD to try and challenge then into that first turn. Then maybe he was. Then maybe I missed it completely. But unfortunately for Beast, then he's come off worse. Then he's down to P9. He's still in the points paying positions, to be fair. Then after that spin, and God, Justifies then tagged the back then of Astra John. Then my God, Tori has been passed by his teammate, but of course Tori not in the car just yet. Then so hopefully he can get himself back in very soon. Then Nameless has passed 300p then into the Sphere section as well. Then goodness me, that's not an overtaking traditional overtaking place, I should say. X Gamer then is up into P6, passing Lewis Riley. Then the hard compound tyres, I think, phasing in at this stage. Then we'll have to switch to the tyre situation to see what everyone's doing. And there we are then. And Vessia and Jay Hings. Jay Hings up into P3 now then, with Beast having that issue. Then both the Aston Martins have been promoted then up into the podium places here. It could be a double podium for them as it stands. But of course there is still quite a few laps to go then, and it is Vegas, so anything can happen. The top four now 5 seconds away from Farf, who's up into P5 then, having to serve that 10-second bonus then in the pit stop phase. Gamer now passing then with DRS then into the final chicane, then up into P5 for Gamer then. Farf down to P6 then, Lewis Riley P7 then, Irvine P8 then, Beast into the queue here, behind Farf that is. But they have lost, he's lost a lot of time then. He's over 5 or 6 seconds or so then back to where he used to be, with the gap then forming between Gamer then and Vessia. Then 5 seconds the gap now as it stands then. But the hard compound tyre runners, I would imagine, will start to phase in very nicely at this point of the race as the mediums start to drop off a bit quicker. Right then, lap 7. We've flown through this race so far. It's been brilliant. We've got 10 seconds then for 20 seconds for Mr. Lee, 10 seconds for Kiki, and 10 seconds for Farf as well. My goodness me. All sorts of penalty action. Then Nameless has passed Kamara Races then for P11. Then the hard compound tyres, like I said, could be becoming the better race tyre at this stage of the race. We'll have to confirm that with the driver confirmation, really, because I have no idea. Even though I raced it last night, then it doesn't matter because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was just trying to get to the checkered flag at the end of lap 25 then. And yes, I think definitely now with Irvine putting the pressure on Lewis Riley then into turn 11 or so here, making sure you get the braking point right is very, very important, and he has done, thankfully. Otherwise that could be very dangerous for his front wing. Oh dear, there's a problem from Beast. Beast has had an issue on the exit of that turn 11 then into the wall almost. But he has got himself back underway, then recomposed and back underway. Then Gordo takes the lead of the Grand Prix away from MHD. Then Gordo is flying out there. Look at him go. Heading into the final chicane. Then the DRS then activated then into that final chicane. Then he's got himself up into the race lead. Then Farf has passed Gamer, then repassed Gamer, I should say. Then these two carry on their fighting into lap 7 as well now. And Gamer down to P6 then, Astrodron and Justify then switching places once again. Then there's Astrodron now up into P14. Goodness me, that is not that's a tight squeeze indeed. Justify's had an issue, and Justify I think has might even had a bit of wing damage there as well. Then goodness me, I think he's going to have to. No, he hasn't got any wing damage there, luckily somehow. So that is pretty well escaped then from Justify. But going 2 into 1 there does not really work very well, does it? Then as we saw, so unfortunately Justify's come off worse. Then an RTB to squeeze back through into P15 then, and now his next challenge then Astra John then for that P14 position as well. Then out in front then we've got Gamer going down the inside of Farf then into sector 2. Then he's got the move done up into P5. Oh my, I think it's going to be done. Evening A says Mushroom. Alex, what did I miss? Well, you missed 7 laps of action pretty much. We're on to lap 8 now. So welcome to Vegas. But like I said, I think it was definitely, actually, to be fair, the first sector then of lap 1 was the most action-packed part of the race so far. Yeah, we rewind and watch the race start, and I got my track names wrong, so I forgot which track we're racing at as well. Then, so that's good stuff. Oh dear, Gamer's clouting the wall then on the exit total 11. Then that's going to open the door for Farf then, but that could be actually quite good for Gamer, to be fair, because the detection point is about here. So Gamer maybe tactically then clouting the wall then, and now he's going to have some DRS to try and repass Farf for P5. If that is, Lewis Riley doesn't go past him as well, then here comes Gamer then back on the attack. Then he's put himself past him with some DRS. Here comes Irvine down the inside of Farf, then into the final chicane. Then it's going to be tight indeed through here. Then let's see. Oh my goodness me, they're side by side through there. Then they have done it very nicely indeed. Irvine up to P6. Brilliant stuff indeed. Oh, Farf back past him into P6 then as they go through into the final corner, burning some ERS then to try and keep up with Gamer then, who's now 5.8 seconds away from the top 4. The gap is not coming down then for the Haas pair and the Racing Bull. We've got Kamara racing into the pit lane as well. Then Nameless has got himself past Kiki. Oh goodness me, I thought he had his nose chopped off then into turn 3. Kamara Racer is into the pits then. Kamara Racer pitting early then onto the hard compound tyres. Away he goes now, and he will be the first man on a, or first driver then to go on to a scheduled stop, I should say. Very early stop then for Kamara Racer as well, then onto the hard compound tyres, but away he goes then. A bit of a clean air now for him. R2Beat has got himself past Astrodron, then Astrodron's had an issue, then he was ghosted briefly then as well. Reflection and Justified battling away, then Reflection up into P15, now passing the Racing Bull, sorry, and into the Sphere section we go then. Oh dear, Justified then sliding that car around. Those tyres might be going to be getting a bit overheated and worse for wear then at this point. Maybe that's why we saw Kamara Racer pitting for the hard compound tyres. He got off the mediums then early on, and now is onto a fresh set of hard compound tyres and bringing that gap back down then to those ahead as well. Then heading through. Oh dear, he's clouted the wall again on the exit of that corner. Oh dear. So there we are then. Right, out in front then, MHD, oh sorry, Gorda then still holds on to the lead, then MHD then still staying P2, then sandwiched in between the Aston Martins. Farf and Gamer then switching places as well then into the final chicane. R2Beat has passed Sweet the pin, then back up into P12 then for R2Beat. Then can he get himself back into the points paying positions though is the question for R2Beat after that mishap then around this point of the circuit then a few laps ago, then trying to recover then after he was running very nicely up in P7 or 6 I think it was at the time, heading into the first turn. Both the is very close in proximity as well. Then Ultimate Beast is into the pit lane, calling it a day on the medium compound tyres for the Beast. And of course the champion then was crowned a few weeks ago then in USA, but back in the US of A here in Vegas, he's not having the race of a champion then just yet. Then of course it could turn around for him. We've seen some difficult races for Beast in this season already, and he's turned it around, and so we'll see what he can do then. Justify has caught it as well. Those those medium compound tyres I think were overheating then at that point, especially through that Sphere section we saw earlier on in the lap then. So he's calling it a day then on the medium compound tyres, then back out of the pit lane now onto a fresh set of hard compound tyres as well. Good stuff indeed. Right then out in front then it stays status quo then with Aston Martin, then P1 and P3, then MHD and the Rebel then splitting the two as we go on to the Vegas Strip. Then lap 10, then this is where maybe the medium compound tyres will start to think about their pit stops. We've already seen a couple of them come in, but maybe a few more will start to filter into the pits at this stage of the Grand Prix as well. Then heading down the Vegas Strip, and here comes MHD then on the charge then with the DRS then into P1, back up into P1 from pole position. Then he's back up into P1 on lap 10, that is. Kiki has passed Lewis Riley then down the straight as well. Then Kiki then on the hard compound tyres has got himself up into P9 here. Then Farf and Gamer then switching places into the final chicane. Then Gamer back up into P. Oh my goodness me! I thought that was a Nameless. Then that was a Nameless. It was a kick Sauber, I mean. Then going into the corner then very deep. Then MHD is into the pits. Then MHD calling it a day. Then both the Aston Martins now P1 and P2. Then of course Vessia also into the pit lane as well. Then there's all sorts of pit stop action then for the medium compound tyre runners. Then Lewis Riley stays out then here at this stage of the race and heading into turn 1 now. Then where will they filter out? The Gamer is in the pit lane. That's a bit of an early stop there from Gamer, I think, isn't it? I'm not quite sure. But there we go. Gamer is into the pit lane, and he is medium compound tyres going on then. So it's a strategic call then from Gamer, not a enforced issue. Irvine has been passed by Nameless then up into P4 now for Nameless then. Oh dear, Beast then, or Kiki, sorry, getting a bit out of shape then through turn 4, heading into the Sector 2 Sphere section. There it is then on our screens on the left hand side, that big looming orange thing, and it is very scary indeed. But there we go then. Astrodron then out in P17. Where is Justified? It's close indeed between Justified, because Justified's got an undercut then on the fresher hard compound tyres, but Astrodron then is going to come out ahead of him into oh my god, it's going to be close indeed. It's heading down in towards turn 4. They're almost side by side here, and they're going to get this breaking point right. Then there's a ghost car of McLaren Tory then in the way as well. Then unfortunately for Tory, then he's out of the session. Then can't get himself back in the session. Mumford up into P19 then. Mr. Elite then is pit for the fresh hard compound. He's got wing damage still then, has Mr. Elite. Then he's clouted the wall again, then has the McLaren driver. Kiki then has got himself past. Has he got himself past? Nameless has got himself past Farf and up into P3. Kiki's got himself past Irvine as well then, I think, at that same point. Then into the final couple of corners. And now Nameless is under pressure from Farf. Then into the pits comes Jay Hings then from P2. Farf is back past Nameless, then round the outside of the final corner, then heading onto the main straight then to start off lap 12. My goodness me. Jay Hings motoring out the pit lane now. Lewis Riley also in the pits as well, then calling it down on the medium compound tyres. Jay Hings will filter out. Then where will he filter out is the question. Then behind Vessia, will he, or around that point, then he's gone over the pit exit line. That might be a penalty or a warning then for Jay Hings then, and he comes out in P8 then. Favre has been passed by Nameless again then into turn 4. Oh my god, then they're going to go side by side through here. That is going to be very, very unclever. That's just definitely a word. But there we go then, heading into the tight twisty section then of the sphere section, and they have stayed status quo. Then MHD is now in a net race lead. I think then he's come out ahead of R2B then, but Jay Hings has had a very big problem then on that lap there, because Jay Hings was right behind MHD, but has lost out then by over a second then to the Red Bull driver then, and R2B has got himself in between then. R2B is yet to pit then, of course, but my goodness me, then MHD then on a charge, and Vessia then is out in P9 as well. Then Vessia was in P4 then, behind the two Aston Martins and behind MHD then before the pit stop phase, so he's caught up once again then as Nameless and Favre then once again switching places, then heading down the strip once again as well, then heading through. It's 3 wide. Here comes Irvine on the charge then into the chicane. Can he slow it down? Of course, there's the question. Oh my god, then it's close indeed, then there's contact indeed as well, then heading through here, and now Kiki is pushing that to Haas through the corners as we go into lap 13 or onto lap 14 very soon. I don't know, we're on lap 13 already, aren't we? Goodness me. And my god, then that is close indeed then, and Favre's scampered off in the distance here, which is good news for Favre, but Nameless then is holding up the Mercedes and the Haas then as we go through. Then Nameless has dropped out the DRS range of Favre. Favre, of course, has got a 10-second penalty to serve in the pit lane. We've got Justify has had an issue somewhere. No, he's not. He's just been passed by both drivers then into the final chicane. Then Mumford and Astrodron then have gone past the racing ball then into the final chicane. Then Mumford up into P16, then Astrodron P17, then Justify P18 as it stands. Then we've just had some movers and shakers somewhere else as well then, and I think that was the Ferraris potentially then getting themselves in a bit of a battle. Then Vessi has been passed by his teammate then R2B, has he? But R2B is on the older tyres as well then. Goodness me, I'm not quite sure what's going on down at the strategy situation then for the Ferraris then. The ghost car of Tori then is in the pit lane. Unfortunately for Tori, he's not been in the race then since the get-go. Then he lagged out at the beginning of, or the end of the qualifying into the beginning of the race, and unfortunately he's not been able to get himself back in then at this stage, as Gordon then leads away by 10 seconds to Favre. Then of course he is yet to pit then in this Grand Prix. We've got Nameless then is P3 then. We've got more movers and shakers then. It's the Ferraris then switching the order then down the strip something. Here we go then. Stretch for Meds, that says Mushroom. I think Stretch for Meds says Mushroom. I think referring to Gamer then, who sprinted for the medium compound tyres 2 laps ago now, or 3 laps ago then at the end of this one. So it could be difficult then for Gamer then towards the end of the Grand Prix. I think as Irvine got damaged then, Nameless looks like he's shaping to coming to the pit lane. He is coming in the pit lane now for the Kick Sauber team, and slowing that car down to P5 then for Nameless then. But where will he come out is the question then. He will be behind Jay Hings and Vessia then, who are setting some good pace then at this stage on the fresh hard compound tyres. Can they catch up to MHD then, who is now 2 seconds ahead of the Aston Martin driver? And we've got more changes then as we've got going through into turn 1. Then we've got Nameless, then we've got Kiki passing Favre as well then. Nameless then is out in P12 then. R2B is coming out of the pit lane. I think he'll be ahead of the Alpine of Sweet P. Then just about then is R2B then exiting at turn 1, heading into turn 2. Then the Alpine then not close enough then into turn 1 then for Sweet P. Then unfortunately to catch up then. Now onto the medium compound tyres. Can R2B get himself back in the top 10 after a bit of a difficult, well, he had a good start to the race then, but unfortunately a difficult situation then in that spin. The final chicane then cost him very dearly, then down to P16 at one point, but he has got himself back underway then now onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres and chasing down some points potentially as well then. Right then, here we go then, onto the strip once again then. Of course, the top 4 yet to pit then in this race. MHD is closing in then. He's only 1.4 seconds behind Irvine at this point of the race as well then. So they might want to start looking in their mirrors and thinking about when they're going to pit as well then, to get themselves out of the way of these race leaders that are catching up now. There is Jay Hings and Vessia in the background. I think Jay Hings might try and get himself past then. Favre's past Kiki then into the final chicane and up into P2 then. Well, not a net P2, but there we are. As Irvine then looked to have lost out of DRS then, unfortunately. Then we've got, what's that? Kiki's had had an issue then at the exit of the chicane as well. Then goodness me, Kiki's dropped down behind Irvine, and I think it's coming into the pit lane as well. Then Farf is also coming in the pits as well. I have to serve that 10-second penalty then for Farf. Kiki then is into the box then, who's calling it a day then on his hard compound tyres as well then, as both of them coming in then. Irvine's carried on then, sorry, as Irvine has carried on, that is. Vessia did get past Jay Hings down the strip as well. Then Farf then having to serve that 10-second penalty then. We'll lose out quite a bit of time then as we go tumbling out the order then, as drivers come through then on their flying laps now, I should say. Now to get themselves into the final, or the second stint, I should say, and then the final stint in this race, hopefully for most drivers as well. But we'll have to wait and see then. MHD now into the DRS then of Irvine, then he's 13 seconds or so off the race lead as it stands. But Gordo yet to pit in this Grand Prix. He's leading the way in this Grand Prix, heading into the Las Vegas Strip then on lap 15, and looking good so far then for Gordo then as it stands. But of course he will have to make a pit stop. He will come out behind MHD. He might come out behind Vessia, Jay Hings, maybe even Gamer as well. Then we'll have to wait and see. Been a while since Hings was up there, says Mushroom then. Well, Hings, of course, was promoted from bronze, and wasn't he? So last season, he has done a fantastic job in silver this season as well then. And I think, I can't remember who else was promoted from bronze to silver, but has been, I'm going to have to say it, he's going to be, oh no, Kiki was with the other driver then. Both Kiki and Jay Hings have been fantastic performers then in silver this season, coming up from bronze last season. They have absolutely done a brilliant job then all season then for both those two. I can't remember the other one. There we go. Sorry about that. I regret bringing it up now. Into the pits comes Gordo then from the race lead then. So he's calling it a day now on the hard compound tyres. Medium compound tyres going on the Aston Martin, and away he goes. Into the pits behind him comes Irvine as well. Then Irvine calling it a day on the hards as well then. So Gordo will filter out of the pit lane. But where will he filter out the pit lane? In the order, that is. He is going to be ahead of Gamer then by for a few seconds, that is, as well. Then Gamer coming through turn 1. Then Gordo going through turn 3. Needs to get those tyres warmed up. Then that was a very wide line then. But there we are then, Irvine coming out the pit lane now as well. He will be in P10 then, ahead of R2B just about then by a few seconds as well, but it's still in the points paying positions now as well. Then that's good stuff indeed from Irvine. And can he get the motoring along then? Can he get himself into a good position then in this race then, with a few 10 laps to go, I should say, in this Las Vegas Grand Prix? Kiki, Jay Hing and Brooksy. Yeah, unfortunately Brooksy then didn't even start the season, I don't think, in silver, so a bit of a shame that. But there we go. Then Jay Hings and Kiki then have been absolutely brilliant then in the silver season 8 since their promotions as well then. So looking forward to seeing how the rest of them fare then when they come up next season as well. But so far so good then for Kiki and Jay Hings then, and looking like they might be able to get themselves some points here. Both of them might be able to get some points as well in this race here tonight as well. And Astro John is under pressure from Sweet 100p, it looks like, as we go through then onto the straight once again. And Jay Hings has been passed by Vessia this time. Then Vessia up into P2, and that is a P2 on track, of course. Then of course there's a lot of the drivers, most of the drivers now have made their pit stops, or have all done their scheduled stops at least, I believe. So we'll see what they can do then now, fighting to the finish line from this point of the race as well. Then on to lap 17 momentarily then. And there we go then, 2.7 seconds the gap then to MHD is the Ferrari then of Vessia. Then Jay Hings waiting in the wings. Then Gordo then fresh medium compound tyres, 1.8 seconds away from the podium places. Then Mumford and Justify battling away then down the straight as well. Then we've got Reflection passing the Alpine of 300p then into the final chicane. Then Reflection up into P15, I should say. Then Astro John is his next target. Then P14 on the table as we go through. Then Mumford then I think has lost out then to or didn't lose out to Justify then, but he's lost out to 300p, his teammate then as well. The Alpine struggling in this race, unfortunately then for the Alpine machine then here in Vegas as well. Then heading through into turn 1. Then I think Mumford might be thinking about a stop very soon then to switch on to a new set of tyres after having to pit at the end of lap 1 then with the damage then as well. 3 seconds the gap out in front. MHD is cruising off into the distance here. Jay Hings and Vessia need to maybe do a bit of working together to try and reel in that Red Bull then in the latter stages. Yellow flag for somebody. It is who is it? Yellow flag for somebody in the middle part of the lap. Then that is, is it Farf? Then Farf might have had an issue. It looks like it seems like Farf has had a problem then somewhere with that front wing. Then maybe having a bit of a knock then with the wall potentially. No, looks all right then. Good stuff indeed. Sweeter has got himself past his teammate. Then Mumford then dropping down to P17. Then Ultimate Beast has got himself past Kamara Racer. Then heading on to the strip. And has Kamara Racer gone past then before the DRS detection point? Yes, he has then, because Beast now has that rear wing open. Then heading back down the strip. Then I think think Beast is going to return the favour then and back past into P6 then for Beast. Of course, in the championship fight, then there's a problem then for an Alpine. It's an Alpine of Sweet MJP's had an issue then at turn 11 and got himself back underway quickly enough. Then good stuff indeed. RGB into the points paying positions, has passed Nameless now for that top 10 position, or 10th position, as we go through then the final chicane then onto lap 18. Reflection has passed Astrodron then with some DRS then in towards that final chicane as well, then up into P14 now for the Williams driver. Then he's got a 3-second bonus then going through that chicane then as well. Then I think there's a slight area there where you can just his Nameless is in the pit lane. He's done 4 laps on his medium compound tyres. There might be an issue then for Nameless then. He's got a wing change underway as well for Nameless, unfortunately then for the kick-saver. Then that's not going too well then for Nameless at this stage of the race then. Urban's got himself up into P8 then passing Lewis Riley. Then Urban's on the fresh medium compound tyres and looking to use them at their best at this stage of the race as well then. Gordo has caught up to Jay Hings and to Vessi as well. Then Gordo's flying out there on the medium compound tyres. Can he get himself past these two and maybe try and challenge MHD for the race lead as well? Then we'll have to wait and see then. Reflection and Astrodron then battling away, then Astrodron back up into P13, passing Reflection this time as roles reverse then into the Sector 2 Sphere section as well then. I won bronze. Oh, I was deleting. So yes, it was bronze. It was Jet Brooksy there. Oh, Vessia's had an issue. Where's Vessia gone? Oh no, he's been passed by both the Aston Martins down the strip. Then, whenever somebody drops 2 positions or more, then down that strip, and you're not looking at it, you think that they've had an incident, don't you? But it's just because that DRS is so powerful down that back straight. Then that, of course, they even shortened it as well, didn't they, from the original Las Vegas Grand Prix? But it still is pretty effective, let's just say the least. 3.3 seconds the gap now. Gordo then is looking to try and charge on, and can he close that gap down? Then is the question. Now we have to wait and see. Then it is currently 3.2 seconds, and can that gap close down to under 3 seconds in the next lap or so? Then Reflection has passed Astrodron then for P13. These two roles reverse once again then down the next strip, and we'll wait and see then what changes on the next DRS straight as well. Then Mumford that is in close proximity as well, heading on to lap 19 now. We're flying through the laps here as well. Then Brooksy then has said he was the champion as well. Then yes, he was, and it was Gino, but he sweated back to bronze. It wasn't Gino, actually. Gino did win the title. I think it was bronze season 6, potentially. He got promoted then up into silver season 7, and then came back down then after only getting 6 points in his silver season, unfortunately then. So he really struggled in silver, to be fair. But he has got himself back underway then in bronze season 8. So there we go then. Good stuff indeed. So your hearts can last for Mumford then, says Matthew. But yes, but you'll have to half that. I think they're doing some quick maths in the comments section. I can't keep up with it, to be fair, so good stuff indeed. But yes, we'll have a look and see what's going on at the rest of the order then. Gordo has not been able to gain then on MHD, and down the straight then it's now 4 seconds the gap then. So unfortunately for Gordo, the straight line speed looks like it's in the favour then of this man here, the MHD then in the Red Bull, then currently leading the way then by 4 seconds then on to lap 20 then. 6 laps remaining at the beginning of this one, and so far so good then. Still over 20 laps then, says Matthew then. Sorry, my bad. The goat Smithy helped, says Brooksy as well. Then he never helped me, says Mushroom as well. Then there we are then. So that's all we've got to say about that matter. Astrotron has passed Reflection. I don't think Smithy's actually the host of this session either, to be fair. I think he lagged out at the beginning of quali. Beginning of the race, I should say. Terrible stuff indeed from Smithy then. Not even bothered about hosting the session itself. But to be fair, we've got underway pretty nicely indeed. So far no glitches or no issues. Fingers crossed I haven't cursed it now, to be fair. I probably have cursed it as well here, but it's been pretty good racing so far, the first 20 laps or so. We've still got 5.5 laps or so to go in this one, but so far it has been absolutely brilliant stuff indeed. Right then, MHD leading the way then. Gordo, unfortunately, on those medium compound tyres, has not been able to reel in that Red Bull, unfortunately, at all. In fact, the gap is extended then to the Red Bull, unfortunately for Gordo, that is. But for MHD, he's going to be very happy about that, I think, because I don't think he wants anybody to be putting the pressure on then at the end of this Grand Prix for him. I'm not blaming you, really. Ginner Silver's hard. Okay, right. Yes, I think Mushroom, yes, he got himself sorted there. Good stuff indeed. Right then, out in front then, the gap coming out in under 4 seconds now, so maybe Gordo is on a charge at this point. We'll have to wait and see. Both Jay Higgs and Vessi then are waiting in the wings then, trying to steal that those positions away from Gordo and potentially get a Ferrari on the podium as well, in Vessia's case as well. Then, sorry, Ultimate, no, it's not Ultra Beast, it's Gamer then. Gamer's coming in the pit lane here. Gamer's calling it a day on the medium compound tyre. Well, yeah, just make him slow down in time then, did Gamer as well then. And he's done 2 stints then on medium compound tyres, I believe. No, did he start on the hards? Maybe he started on the hards actually, I'm not quite sure. But he is into the pits nonetheless then. He's on to a set of medium compound tyres again then, so he's only got 5 laps to go then at the exit of this pit lane. And he will be out in P12 then, just behind Kiki and Farf. But he's got 6 lap fresher tyres then than the pair ahead of him as well then. So potentially could get himself back into points paying positions, that is. Nameless has got himself a fastest lap point as well, then fair play to Nameless, then soldier on after a difficult start in this race. Then of course started P2 at the beginning of this race then, but had a very difficult start then. Lewis Riley's got a 3-second penalty as well, then that's going to be costly for him in his fight with R2 Beat. Then that will get himself demoted down a place then to the Ferrari. But R2 Beat has, I think, I thought he had wing damage. Never mind. I think he's got wing damage. It looks like he's got some sort of wing damage there, doesn't it? I think he might have some wing damage on that right end plate then, but I'm not quite sure. No, maybe it's not. Maybe it's damage on both sides then, but never mind. 10-second penalty for sweet and repeat corner cutting. I think that was through the sphere section there, unfortunately for the Alpine. But he has hopefully got that sorted then. But heading on to lap 22 I should say then now, as we get ourselves breezing through the final few laps here of this qualifying session, this race itself I should say, goodness me. 5 seconds the gap then between Jay Hings and Vessia. Then Gordo has lost out. I completely missed it because I was looking at something else. I'm not sure what I was looking at, to be honest. But there we go. Gordo's lost out then to the podium places, then both Vessia and Jay Hings have passed him, and now it is a bit of a fight then for those podium places. It looks like it justifies past Mumford then for P15, and now into this battle once again. Then justifies picking up a penalty and going through that final chicane just like we saw. I think it was Reflection as well then on a few laps ago, that is. Mumford looks to be coming into the pit lane then to call it a day on the hard compound tyres as well. Then yellow flags for somebody out there. Goodness me, who is it? It's a Red Bull. It's a Ferrari. Sorry, it's R2 Beat who's on an issue somewhere. Goodness me, and R2 Beat's definitely got wing damage now. Then I might have cursed him then with my comments on the previous lap. Unfortunately for R2 Beat, I'm very sorry if that was the case. But oh dear, Kiki's clouted the wall as well. Then goodness me. Kiki then in a bit of a problem then as well. Then R2 Beat and Kiki both having a bit of a problem on lap 22 then, as we head into the sphere then for Kiki. I'm not quite sure, as Kiki's got a 3-second penalty for corner cutting as well. Then goodness me, what has happened then to Kiki then as well? Then so both Kiki and R2 Beat have had an issue at different, literally a corner after corner then between the two of them. But it was turn 3 for R2 Beat, it's turn 4 for Kiki, and now both of them I think are going to have to get themselves into the pits to sort out their wing damage as well. Then goodness me, that is bad news indeed. Soft compound tyres going on for Mumford and for Mr. Elite as well here, and Mr. Elite I think has finally got his front wing sorted as well. Then that has been quite a while then for Mr. Elite then on that with that front wing damage. Vessia then and Gordo then trying to put the fight then to Jay Hings then onto lap 23. Then Gordo sliding it around turn 2 and into turn 3 we go then, as we head on to lap 23 then of 25. Then only a few corners to go, a few more miles to go then in this race. Then as we head down towards turn 4, here comes Gordo on the attack. Then can he get himself past for the Ferrari? Then not quite then, and he could have tried to if he can get himself past, it could maybe be a bit of a blocker then for Jay Hings as well then, and we could see a good result then for Aston Martin, maybe a double podium then for Aston Martin. But Vessia is going to do everything he can then to stop that from happening, I would imagine, that is. Right then into the pits comes Kiki and comes R2 Beat. They're both in for a wing change it seems. Yes, soft compound tyres going on as well here. Unfortunate stuff indeed then. Driver of the day is out in the comment section. Gordo, Jay Hings, Vessia and Irvine are your candidates then as well. Then we'll have a quick look at the position changes, shall we? Yes, we will. So 4 places gained then for Irvine as it stands up into P7. Then Gordo's gained 6 places then up into P4. Potentially could be a podium then for Gordo. Jay Hings is up 7 places then and holding on to P2 as it stands as well. Then I think Vessia was the other candidate. Vessia is in the Ferrari, then he's in an Aston Martin sandwich as well. Then it could be any of these 3, sorry, that could be on the top two, the bottom two steps of the podium, then that is. I meant P2 and P3, if you didn't get my drift. But Vessia then couldn't get himself past Jay Hings there, and that could open the door now for Gordo to try and make a move then into, oh dear, we've got Kamara racing, then passing Beast, and into the chicane once again then, and we've got up into P5 now for the Williams driver. Unfortunately, he's lost 2 places, or 1 place I should say then at this stage, from his starting place, but of course has done a good job in getting himself back underway. Then Gamer's passed Favre, and Gamer then on a charge now, of course, with those fresh medium compound tyres. Can he gain that 9 seconds in the next 2 laps or so? I'm not quite sure, but we'll have to wait and see. Lap 24 then of 25, penultimate lap of the Grand Prix here. We've been absolutely flying through this Las Vegas Grand Prix here as well. It's been brilliant stuff to watch then, as we've got, I don't think we're going to have a safety car now as well. Then no safety cars, no VSCs then for Silver here tonight. Then fantastic stuff indeed. Then Kiki and Mumford then in a bit of a battle as well. Then of course these two are championship rivals in terms of the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes versus Alpine, that is, as we go through then into the final chicane, then onto lap 25, or 24, sorry, that's 24 then for those drivers then. Lap 25 then will be coming up then in about 1 sector time, as MHD then sets himself off through the strip once again then on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Flying through here then, we've got a 3-way fight then for P2, P3 and P4. I'm not quite sure if anyone's fighting for P4 at this point, but we're fighting for P2 and P3 regardless, as we head onto the strip once again then, and we cruise down this back straight then once again. And I'm not quite sure if there's going to be any overtakes on this this lap, I should say. Then we've got I think that's Tori then, who's the ghost car. You could play a factor in this race, but for these 3 I should say at least. But of course I think we'll be going pretty slowly then through turns 1 and 2 then, so maybe we'll be passed then by those 2 regardless as well then. So we head into lap 25, the final lap of the Grand Prix. MHD going through the first few turns as well. We come back to MHD, we want to see this battle here as well then, as we go through turns 1, 2 and 3 then, and Jay Hings might get a dosage of DRS then out of turn 3 then, which will help protect him, I should say, from Vessia. Unfortunately for Tori, he's P20, but we'll hope protect him from Vessia then, at least down this straight. And we head into sector 2, and Gordo shaping for a move, is he? No, not quite. Then Gordo a bit too far back, but they head into sector 2 then, almost, oh dear, Gordo's all over the place, and I think Gordo needs to just calm it down. Then he's on for a good result nonetheless, and yes, just needs to bide his time then. But out in front, 6 seconds, the gap then between MHD and the Aston Martins of Jay Hings and Gordo, and Vessia in the Ferrari, of course. But there we are then, that is the situation out there. The Gamer then on a charge, and I'm not sure he can get himself into that 3-second window for Lewis Riley then to gain a place, and unfortunately for Gamer then, but he's got himself into the top 10 as it stands anyway. Then here we are then onto the Las Vegas strip then. This is the final time then. Here comes Vessia, here comes Gordo. Then can they get themselves past Jay Hings? Can Jay Hings? Oh dear, what's going on there? Goodness me, well, I can't see. There's more contact here as well then. God, Vessia's all over the way. She's pinballing all over the place as well. Then Gordo's gone through to P2. Then he's up into P2. Then has Gordo, but he's not got DRS. And Vessia's coming back at him now down the strip. And here we go then into the final chicane. It's going to be tight indeed between the 2 of them. Then into the final chicane. Then we go into the breaker zone. Through the final chicane we go then. And there's contact. And now Jay Hings is swooping through. And Jay Hings has got himself through. And then he's pushing Gordo to the line. Then Gordo is going to go through. MHD has claimed the victory here in Vegas for the Red Bull team. Fantastic stuff indeed. Jay Hings crosses the line in P2. Gordo in P3. And Vessia P4, my goodness me, what a close finish. But what a result then for Jay Hings. P2 once again then. A fantastic podium for Jay Hings then in the Aston Martin. And 2.5 tenths then to Gordo, his teammate, as he was pushing him out of the final chicane then was Jay Hings. It was brilliant. Great teamwork indeed then. And fantastic stuff indeed for Aston Martin. A double podium then as well then for the Green Machines. Then Vessia P4, very unlucky there. It looked like there was all sorts of shenanigans going on then down that straight. But has got himself a good result, and then nonetheless then up 2 places as well. Beast then P5 in the end, then Kamara Racer P6 then being passed by Beast then on the final lap there. Irvine P7, good result from him. Then Lewis Riley stays P8, then X-Gamer then was only 9 tenths of a second behind then in P9. Sweeter P drop finishes the race as well, then unfortunately for Sweeter P then not his favourite race, I don't think. Then Father's got himself P10 then, and potentially could get that 10-second penalty removed as well. Then we'll have to look into that as well then after the race, and could gain him a couple of spots there as well. Then Nameless then P11, then Astrodron P12, Reflection P13, Justified P14, then R2 Beat P15, Mumford P16, Kiki P17, Sweeter P18, Mr. Elite then coming across the line very shortly as well. Then who's got the fastest lap of the race? And it's Nameless with a 32.489. Wow, that was fun, wasn't it? My goodness me, then Mr. Elite crosses the line then to round off the race. Then fair play to Mr. Elite for soldiering on in this one as well then. And Jay Hings then is looking to lead the way then in terms of the driver of the day vote as it stands. Then get your last minute votes in as well then. Jay Hings, Gordo, Vessia and Irvine then are your candidates then for the driver of the day poll in the comment section then. So good stuff indeed. Then we'll run through the classification quickly before getting some interviews underway then as we watch the podium celebrations here. MHD on the top spot then for Red Bull then. Both the Aston Martins flanking either side with P2 and P3. Jay Hings P2 then and Gordo in P3. There we are then, celebrating the podium then for the Red Bull and the Aston Martins. Then we'll have a look at the classification once the champagne has finished flying then here in Vegas. And we can crack on then with the interviews as well then very shortly then. Good stuff indeed then for all the drivers who got themselves to the line. I think everyone finished. Unfortunately, Vittori wasn't in the car, but everyone finished. Goodness me, you need to turn that mic off. There is the classification then for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Then MHD P1, then Jay Hings P2, Gordo P3, Vessia P4, Ultimate Beast in P5, Kamara Racer P6, Irvine P7, then Lewis Riley P8, then Gamer P9, and Favre rounds off the top 10 then from P20 on the grid, then Nameless P11, then Astrojon in the kick Sauber, then P12, Reflection P13, Justified P14, R2 Beat P15, Mumford P16, Kiki P17, Sweet Ender P18, Mr. Elite P19, and Tory wasn't in the race at all then. He is P20 then as a ghost car. So fantastic stuff indeed. Right then, it's time to turn your mic back on, Gordo, because we're going to have some interviews then. But we'll start off with MHD. MHD, then a fantastic race from yourself then, sir. You've done a fantastic job here in the Red Bull tonight. Then, of course, pole position to the win. And did you think at any point then you were going to be under a bit more pressure then in that race? At the very final stint, you looked like you were steaming off into the distance. Good stuff indeed. Unfortunately, we can't hear MHD, so we'll have to come back to him at another point. And then we'll start off with Jay Hings.
Do you have my voice, yeah?
P2 in the end then.
Can I break this crazy? I'm sorry,
Jay
my
Hings
voice.
how are you tonight then? Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully we can hear you. How was your race then tonight then in the Aston Martin then? Unfortunately, can't hear MHD, so we'll have to come back to him at another point. Then we'll start off with Jay Hings.
Do you have my voice, yeah?
P2 in the end then. Okay, it doesn't look like we can hear anybody in the stream then, which is brilliant stuff indeed. All right, I'm going to end it there then in that case. But congratulations to our podium drivers. Then we'll have to just crack on then without any interviews tonight then. But fair play indeed then to the top three. Then MHD wins the Grand Prix in the Red Bull then, and we've got both the Aston Martins, Jay Hings P2 and Gordo P3 tonight. Then brilliant stuff indeed then for those three I should say then, and hopefully we'll have some more action tomorrow night in bronze of course then here in Vegas, and in a week's time we'll be in Qatar then for silver as well. Then so stay tuned to ALR. There's plenty more action coming up then, and we'll see you very soon.